you ready to heal your mind, body, and soul from the inside out? Welcome to the Real Healing Institute show with Michelle Sinclair, divine healer and spiritual teacher, where spiritual transformation meets practical guidance to break free from limiting beliefs, subconscious pain, and energetic blocks. This is a powerful space for those seeking true healing and enlightenment. Michelle's teachings are rooted in her deep study of the Christ letters and the spiritual awakening that came from her unwavering dedication to divine truth. She helps individuals navigate their inner healing journey through subconscious soul healing techniques and spiritual teachings by uplifting the vibrational resonance of our thoughts, words, and actions that shape the very fabric of our lives. It is time to learn the profound understandings of universal love. The Real Healing Institute show starts now. Welcome to the Real Healing Institute show. My name is Michelle Sinclair, and today we have Laura LaPlante here, and we are bridging the gap between science and spirituality, talking about physical healing. For any of you who have followed me for any length of time, you know that all the healing that I do is spiritual, and we are going to really get in deep here so that we can help someone. Let's say that they've had a recent diagnosis. They're not sure exactly where to turn. Laura has so much expertise in working with integrated medicine, and so we're going to hear from her today. We're going to hear about her story and her healing journey, and how you can look at both of these facets between science and spirituality, and see how you can truly heal yourself. So thank you so much for being here today, Laura. We've had an interesting start.
Yeah, really happy to be here. And, you know, it's like expect the unexpected these days. I think we're in the quickening. People know it. There's always something that's happening, and you just got to roll with everything and really release perfectionism, which is actually pretty much where my health journey and my health crash started. Mm-hmm. So from a young age, I had some different traumas, and then I also had a whole lot of just wanting to be so perfect. And, you know, when we talk about integrative medicine, you know, we've got to talk about mind, body, and spirit. Actually, I'll say this. I was part of an institute in St. Louis, really a wonderful hub for functional and integrative medicine here in the U.S., wonderful, amazing specialists and doctors and collaborators that gather together there. And I was always amazed. We would go into these meetings, and it was integrative medicine, which, you know, most people think of that and they go, oh, mind, body, spirit. It was always just mind, body, and a lot of times it just fell back on the body. Why? Because a lot of practitioners were leaving conventional medicine, heading into functional medicine, and then not really knowing what to do except to reinvent the same old wheel. Mm-hmm. And the old paradigm, the old business model just kept creeping in with these heart-led practitioners. And it was hard to watch sometimes, right? Because I know that they really wanted to do things differently. They want to bridge gaps in healthcare, and they want to see people really truly heal, but they just don't quite know how to get there in a short session and in the old model that they're still just carrying forward. So lots of interesting innovations coming through in functional and integrative wellness, but not quite where we want to be yet, and we all know it. So going back to my own healthcare journey, or health and wellness journey, 7, 8 autoimmune diseases, a bunch of different mental health diagnoses, and really you can't untangle the two. What it really came down to, though, was that I was at war with myself. Autoimmunity is really about the body not recognizing its own tissues, attacking itself, so to speak. And what I really realized over the course of time, as I went through starting with nutrition and then getting into meditation. I wouldn't say I fully went into spirituality, but I went into that mind-body connection and nervous system regulation with meditation, then moving into processing and counseling and EMDR and lots of different things for trauma, so that I could, again, get further into that nervous system regulation, which all continued. All of those things helped me to get the inflammation down, get some things under control, but it still wasn't giving me healing. Going into then working in functional medicine clinics, and if I'm on a roll here and you have questions, bust right in, working into some different functional medicine clinics, because as my health journey progressed from having been really on bed rest for about 2 years, I mentioned that I had all those diagnoses, but I also had 18 active prescriptions at the pharmacy at one point in time, was seeing 6 specialists and a primary care physician every month. Mm-hmm. And it got to the point where You know, 75 pounds heavier than I am now. I mean, really unrecognizable in every possible aspect of my being. And my son actually brought me a Mother's Day card home back when, gosh, was this 2014? I was 34 years old. It had been 2 years of really the major health crash and struggling after about a decade of things leading up to it. You know, lots of different diagnoses, Crohn's, interstitial cystitis, Hashimoto's, I could go on and on. And he brought me this Mother's Day card, and it was a little flip card, and every page was something about mommy, fill in the blank. And one page was mommy is good at. I had a master's degree. Even with as sick as I had been, I was working from home before it was a cool thing to do. I was still a direct report to a national publishing company, like direct report to a CEO and a president. On the career front, on lots of other ways, it seemed like I should have had everything together. Like, oh, things are going well. Little kids don't care about that.
No, they don't.
They want mommy to play with them. They want a woman to be, you know, they want a mom to be present. They want a parent to be present. And so yeah, it was mommy is good at, and he drew sleeping. Oh. And he's right. I would work and I would sleep, and I would work and I would sleep. And I would then invent something for food, because I didn't really understand nutrition. You know, grew up with teen parents in the 80s.
Yep.
So it was like, if it came from a can or a box, we were doing fine. And that was the extent of my cooking. And the next page was mommy's favorite food is, and he wrote chaloot. We still don't know what that is, but we did a picture, and it kind of looked like a pizza with the chili dog on top of it. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay, so this is how my child is seeing me, and this is what I'm feeding him and teaching him. And I've got a lot of things to look at here. So I started, you know, and I'd been praying a lot by that point. I'd been really going inward and asking for guidance. And I kept hearing, your body's not meant to break down this way. It's just not. And so I was like, okay, clearly it must be something I'm eating, something I'm doing. What do I need to do here? We stumbled across a movie that Mother's Day weekend called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. Because my husband comes in, right? And I'm looking at this card. And my little boy like goes out to play, and my husband walks in the door, and I'm like, just crying. I collapsed on the couch, and he's like, what is going on with you? And I said, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. This is how our son sees me. He's not wrong. I'm having a hard time keeping up with work at this point, because my mind and my body and my spirit are just totally out of calibration. And I said, I just don't know what I'm going to do. I had these 2 containers that I had picked up at the dollar store that were just full of all of these medications, and they were just overflowing. We spent all of the money that I made every month on medications or doctor's visits, all of it. It just felt like, you know, and to be that age and have that many prescriptions, you would think that would not be a common occurrence, but actually it's much more common than people realize.
Really? Wow.
Especially in that time. So anyway, flash forward. Well, there's so much more I could say, but yeah, we watched this movie, Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, because my husband, as I was, you know, collapsed in a puddle on the couch, said, hey, can I give you your Mother's Day present early? And I said, I would love that. He's like, I got Netflix. We had a little Roku, right? So we plug it in, and it says, you know, Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead popped up, and it said, man goes on soul-searching journey, has rare autoimmune disease, goes on soul-searching journey, heals through nutrition. And I was like, okay. And it was just so divinely timed, as all things are orchestrated in our lives in this way. And so we watched it, and I looked at him at the end, and in that movie, the guy goes on a green juice cleanse and starts there, gets away from his friends, his family, his old toxic work environment, goes from Australia to America, goes on a cross-country trip. Anyway, this is the movie that I watched that kick-started all of this. And I just looked at my husband and I said, is it crazy that I want to quit my job and buy a juicer? And he was like, no, what you're doing is far crazier than that.
Wow.
A moment of sanity right from him, where he was like,
wow.
No. So we did. I did. I put in my 2 weeks notice, and that's where the health journey started. The nutrition made a difference. The meditation made a difference. All of these pieces along the way, then getting into the functional medicine clinics and working alongside doctors, because they saw the progress that I had made just in those things. And it just continued to unravel from there. It was antiparasitics, it was, doing other supplementation and balancing the gut microbiome. I really got into the science very deeply, along with some very interesting sort of supernatural occurrences that would happen to me in clinic and things that I would know about the people that I was then coaching. By the time this came along, of course, I'd gotten quite a few credentials under my belt and really, made this not only a lifestyle, but a profession. And the doctors started to say, sometimes people come in and things that aren't on the form. How do you know that? How do you know what tests we need to run before we run them? And so they said, we think that you have a gift and maybe you should go pursue that. So then it was stepping into energy work, intuitive gifts and other things unfolding. And that is really when the real healing started. Mm-hmm. I'd made a lot of progress, but really getting off of the bulk of things and doing it was the spiritual piece that I was missing. Mm-hmm. It was stepping into the gifts, allowing that multidimensional connection to the fullness of reality and really knowing myself, because when the body is in conflict, or rather when the mind and the emotions or the body are faced with conflict, we shift in meaningful ways, and that's what causes disease. That was quite a mouthful. 100%. What you got there?
No, that was good. No, thank you for this. So, when I'm working with my clients, I will see that they're coming in, and the only piece that I am working with is the emotional component and the spiritual component behind it. And they'll just heal like this. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as they are a part of the process. But I know that medicine and all of these things and the nutrition plays a role in it. And I understand this as it's our belief that's in the medicine. It's our belief that's in, that these things are going to heal me. But they do play a role really in truly just starting to care for yourself, properly and in a proper way. When you're not being thoughtful about the food that you're consuming, is because you're not being thoughtful about yourself. And as soon as you're like, oh, I really need to be thoughtful about myself, and you realize, oh, this thing could be good for me, then you start to do these things. So along the path, as you were healing yourself, what would you say the medications were actually doing for you?
Mostly they were just masking. They call it the compassionate care model, the conventional system. It's compassionate care. Ease the suffering, ease the symptoms. There's no cure. That's what I was told. There's no cure. You've got bad genes. Sorry. And the thing is, when I heard that, when that was given to me, it was put upon me, I took it in, and I took it as real, because I had watched my family, my grandparents and others struggle with different conditions, and I thought, okay, well, that just must be true. Mm-hmm. And so that's when it was like, well, they just took all the medications, I'll just take all the medications. It got to the point where doctors were saying, we're just going to come up with a drug cocktail for you. This is when rheumatic fever with chorea came in. Now, what was it doing for me? Nothing. It was masking symptoms, and it was keeping me from getting to the root of what was really going on, which was that I was completely unhappy and out of place in my body and in my life. That's what the issue was. Even when you look at rheumatic fever with chorea, rheumatic fever is rooted in strep issues, right? And it becomes an autoimmune illness after you have so many strep attacks, Then after getting that, shortly thereafter, I started to develop Hashimoto's, which is a thyroid issue. These are all throat chakra issues, right? I wasn't allowed to speak my truth. I didn't feel comfortable being in my full expression. I had had so many shutdowns over the course of my life of people telling me, don't say that, don't be you. Don't be you either because it was wrong or bad or shameful, or don't be you because you're outshining someone else, and that's not okay either. So don't do that. Don't speak with authority. Don't step in that way. That's not for you. And all of that, hold, not to mention other lifetimes where I'd been killed for speaking my truth and all these other things that then later came up as I got more into the spiritual journey and started having more and more revelation come through and learning what is my truth. But first I had to be open to it, and I was not going to ever become open to it if I kept leaning on the conventional system and the medications, and then went from the medications to the functional system, which has basically become a mirror for the conventional system, but it's not prescription pills anymore. No, it's prescription supplements.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you never get off of them.
Yeah.
They never end. Because, but someday your body might heal. But first we'll inject you with some hormones and we'll do that. No, stop. It's insanity.
It really is.
And I believe with all my heart, there are many people out there working in these systems that are doing the best they can with what they think they have.
Yeah.
They don't know that there is another way, and there is another way.
There is another way. Yeah, when I have worked with people, and you know this, that the divine love heals everything. I've done, hypnotherapy for 10 years, so I'd be working with people and getting to the root of their issue, to their dis-ease that they have in their body. And so sometimes it would be correlated to an emotion that they had. Pretty often it would be that they're really angry, they're resentful, there's frustration, guilt, things along these lines that they're holding within them, which is then depleting their body's natural energy that's meant to be held and stored in the body, and instead they're holding guilt or shame. We know from the Dr. Emoto water experiment, and if you don't know what that is, look it up, it's amazing, that thought, so intention affects water, and we're almost all water. So if we look at this at a science-based, level, the thoughts that we're thinking are actually physically affecting the cells that we have in our body. And so eventually they deplete, they break down. And so over time, these systems in our body actually start breaking down more and more and more, as long as we continue to think these thoughts that are harmful to us. But I've also had people come to me, and the only reason that they were sick was so that they could come and so that they could be healed and have their faith renewed. It's like they had some doubt, perhaps, that they were truly divinely loved, or that they were worthy, or whatever it happened to be. And as soon as they saw and understood, oh, they actually are, then they healed just like that. There was no lag time. There was no, I guess we'll wait 7 days and see what happens. No, it was instant, because that was the issue. So, often you were talking about things being genetic, and I've heard this so much, right? This is a genetic thing. Well, it's the emotional pattern that is actually what's genetic, that is then affecting the physical body. It's the things that the examples that you saw growing up, it's not because your body is destined for some horrible thing. But when we believe in it, if we hold fear within our body of, I'm afraid that, I'm going to get this thing, or somebody told me, I need to be afraid I'm going to get this thing, it will then manifest in the body, because we are believing in that rather than the divine love. We're believing that this illness or this sickness is going to happen, or it's going to come. So we're putting our faith in it rather than the love. So what would you say to somebody who has had a recent diagnosis and they're like, I don't know what to do, because there's so many options out there. Do I go and get this treatment? Do I go and do this? What advice would you give to people? And this is coming from a place of, you have healed all the things, so you really do know. So what would you say?
First, get a dog. No, kidding. Maybe. Where are you in conflict? Internally or externally, literally or metaphorically, within your life. Look at that. And you may not even know that you are, right? But are you living your life the way that you meant to live your life when you came into it? Are you in alignment in that way? Honestly, at this point, I would tell them to read the Christ letters. Christ Returns speaks to truth. I would say read that, because it's going to give you some alignment and some true north to calibrate toward. Yeah. That would be a good place to start. And really what it's going to tell you is be the love that you are and love yourself more. Yeah. When we're in conflict, it's because we're not advocating for ourselves. We're not stepping into our alignment. We're not doing what we came to do. And the body will shift in meaningful ways to help us to survive conflicts that we've placed ourselves in or been placed in, and to try and keep us going. It'll also eventually take us out. if it's not for the best and for the growth of the soul, your body will take you out of there. So
I think something too that was coming up, so like we're in the full moon, the Scorpio full moon, and this has come up, the past several days, talking about that this is bringing up the golden shadow in people. And so looking at that as well, what parts of you that are just magical and amazing did you suppress? Because either someone, was jealous and so they wanted your light dimmed, and so they told you that wasn't okay, or what part of you, maybe you, expressed and said something and somebody shut you down and you're like, oh, it's not safe to be me. This can manifest in the body as well. And our body is our best friend in the whole world. It is telling us, hey, you're in conflict in this area. Hey, this thing needs to come out. And it's so when it breaks down and when these things happen, it's doing it for you because it loves you so much. It's saying, hey, you've been holding this resentment towards this person for such a long time. It's uncomfortable. It's not supposed to be in there. And so the body will break down. It'll give you all this time to be able to work through these things that if we continue to hold them, it really will take us out. And we don't want this. And another thing along those lines is sometimes when people's bodies break down, what do? We begin to guilt and shame our body like, and we get down on ourselves. Well, we know from the Dr. Moto water experiment, what is that doing? It's adding to it. How many parts in your body have you shamed or told you, I don't like you? What energy is being held in your body there? It's not divine love.
it's always a lack of love.
Always.
Always. It's always a lack of love.
It is.
Always.
It is.
Always.
Yeah.
Period. And that's it.
That's true.
Now, you may want to reach out to someone who can help you unravel, because we have blind spots.
Yeah.
Inevitably we have blind spots. The other thing I would say is also just, where dis-ease. Mm-hmm. It's simply a lack of ease. I think maybe we've mentioned this before, but it's a lack of ease. Where are you not at ease? Where are you not allowing yourself to flow? Mm-hmm. And where have you become constricted or allowed yourself to be? And again, that's a lack of love.
Yeah.
There's so many things. The other thing I would say about it, so I mentioned earlier strep. Mm-hmm. We need to start looking at our health and our environment, our reality from an empowered perspective. If we look at the fact that everything is just energy, it's just frequency. And if there's something within us that is not really in alignment for the highest, for our highest and best, and we may attract a microorganism, magnetize it to us, to help us to see, to give us the dis-ease, to help us to shift in a meaningful way. Now, I like the works of Michael Lincoln for this. Michael Lincoln, PhD.
So wonderful.
Messages of the Body, which are really messages from the heart. You can go to talkinghearts.net for his works. It really decodes everything and gets down to, a basic statement of this is what this energy, this belief system, this emotion, this is what the issue or the disease was attracted or drawn to you because of. And then you can work with that. You can start to purge it. But it's just, there's also Germanic New Medicine, GNM, very similar body of work, emerged around the same time, collective download by a Dr. Hammer, and was so brilliant. He was an oncologist working clinically. He was able to do over 2,000 brain scans and found that when people had certain types of cancer or autoimmune diseases, they always had what he called a Hammer focus. It was a little pocket of fluid in a particular part of the brain that correlated to that aspect or area of the body. Interesting, isn't it, when we talk about belief systems and the ability to structure water or fluids, and that they would happen to have this belief system or they would have the fluid pocket in their brain in the spot that was being affected. And then when he would work with them and ask them questions to get to the heart of what is the conflict that may have caused this, what's it rooted in, the psychic or psychological roots of disease, really messages where the love needs to be, messages from the heart. And he would get into this and find that then they would go through a frequent urination and lots of different things at night. They would have a healing crisis as everything released, and they would heal. And over and over and over, and scientifically documented cases, and the poor guy was run out of the country and died in exile. So
how about this?
Right. And you see that over and over too. There are a lot of doctors, a lot of healing professionals out there who have stepped up and spoken and been silenced. And that's just something, again, to be aware of. Just be aware.
So Michael Lincoln's work is amazing. When I first moved to Sedona here, or actually it was when I was visiting before I ever moved, I was like, oh, I'm experiencing this altitude sickness. And it was like, okay, so we look it up in the book. And basically by the time that I was done reading the passage of what it was, the symptoms and everything went away. I mean, it doesn't matter what happens to come up in this household. We're immediately going to the book. What is the issue? Okay, that's totally true. And as soon as we work through it, let it go, whatever it happens to be, well, then the body doesn't need to be signaling and telling us, hey, this is what's going on. We're aware of it. And so then it stops because we're going to do something about it. This connection that we have to our emotional body, it's our energetic body, right? We are not our bodies. We are the energy that underlies it. And it is our thoughts that program the energy that we have inside of us. And because these thoughts program our bodies, they're underlying, they're the facet of everything. And so they will break down. If we're having a breakdown, then the body can break down as well. We only have a couple minutes left here, but we do have Christ light circles that I want to tell you guys about. So this is something that me and Alora do almost daily. We're doing it 5 days a week here now. But it's something that you can pop in, and we do energy attunements. There will be messages that will come through that will pertain to whoever happens to show up to the group that day. And we set the container that everything that is for the highest and best comes through.
For us and all of creation.
For us and all of creation, yes.
Yeah, it's a collective act, not just a personal healing journey that you're on. Remember that.
It is. And so there's, we can assist with healing in this way. There's many different things that come through when we're in these sessions. And so this is something that we will have a link that you guys will be able to pop on and click on, and you can join our Zoom anytime that you want, if you want to get some more action of me and Alora here. But this is just part one of bridging the science and the spirituality in regards to physical healing, because there's so much more that we can say about that. So as we're wrapping up here, what would you like to say? What kind of message would you like to give to the people who are listening, who are in their own healing journey?
Don't give up. Mm-hmm. Do not give up. I firmly believe there is nothing that cannot be healed. Anything can be healed.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm. Do not give up. And don't let anyone tell you. You get to decide. Mm-hmm. You get to decide. You're empowered. And it's for you, not to you. It's happening for you, if you choose to see it that way, not to you.
And the most wonderful thing about that is that when you know that it's happening for you, you can then also know that there's something you can do about it, because it's a gift, even though it doesn't feel like a gift. It's a gift for you that can crack you open and take you all kinds of places that you never would have gone had it not happened.
I'm so grateful for the healing journey I went on. If you would have told me in the middle of it at certain points that it was a gift, I don't know how I could have believed it. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure glad that I continued down that path. And in retrospect, grateful that I have that story to share to encourage others, and truly embrace your path, allow it to unfold. Most importantly, truly it is the love. Love is the thing that heals.
It is. Yep. Increase the dose. That's all we really need.
It's a frequency.
It is the frequency of love. Well, thank you so much for joining me here today. This was amazing. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you the same time in 2 weeks. This has been a slice. Can't wait to see you guys. Check out my YouTube channel. There's daily podcasts on there under the Real Healing Institute. These are Christ letters, inspired messages that can help you with daily guidance for your life. And if you are on the spiritual path, you're going to want to check them out. Thank you guys for tuning in here today. Take care. Thank you for joining the Real Healing Institute show with me, Michelle Sinclair. Tune in every second and fourth Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com for more empowering ways to spread love and set yourself free. Together, we'll elevate the consciousness of the planet. Stay connected. Follow me on social media, subscribe to the podcast, and explore the Mental Cleanse series on YouTube. Ready to go deeper? Book a session with Michelle at therealhealinginstitute.com. Until next time, keep healing, keep growing, and remember, love is the only way.